Welcome into the Jackson Post West Tennessee High School Football Pick'em Contest. And is this week 4? Is my math right?
This is week
That's
4
right.
of high school football, yes.
Week 4 of high school football. Really fun season so far, which you knew it would be. It always is. The best time of the year. High school football, college football, NFL, baseball playoffs. We're, 20 some odd games out from those starting. Very best time of the year for every sports fan out there. And just to remind you,
October is the best month.
October is a great month. Yes, I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
But this is September's still a good month. You got football back. You got to be thankful. I want to remind everybody out there. So far, I just checked, just pulled up my email before we started. We have 71 entries so far into the contest. It's not too late if you haven't entered in yet. And send an email with your name and phone number to radiowalkertalks@gmail.com. We're giving away, courtesy of Tony Niehoff with Remax Realty Source and Southeastern Termite Pest Control. We're giving away a big screen. Here's how you qualify. You send an email to radiowalkertalks@gmail.com with your name, your phone number, and who you want to ride with. Now, I'm going to check these, right? We're not going to, you can't do them every week. You just get one entry, but you want to ride with Tony, you want to ride with me, you want to ride with Brandon. Who do you think at the end of this, at the end of 10 weeks, is going to have the best record in the Pick'em contest? And if you're right, we put your name into a hat. We'll draw a name out on air, and that person will win a big screen, courtesy of Southeastern Termite Pest Control and Tony Niehoff, Remax Realty Source. All right, you guys ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Let's roll.
A little bit of upheaval last week as I was unseated as the leader in the clubhouse. The Hoff had a big week. Now, we haven't had our people go back. We have forensic accountants, and we haven't had them go back yet to make sure his math and everything is right. But these things are recorded, Tony. So
That's right.
These picks. But where are we currently standing right now going into our 4th week of high school football?
Well, the Hoff took the lead because he went 14-1 last week.
It's a big week.
Brandon only got 10 right. I'm not sure what happened with that. Chuck was in the middle there. I think you had 12. So I took a 1-game lead on you. I don't have the final numbers. I think it's 34-33 to 31 or 30, something like that.
So right there. So everybody's
message.
Still right there together, flip-flopping just like we did last year. All right, well, Tony, since you are in the lead, you'll go first. I will go second. Brandon will go third, and we'll rotate around. Tony, you're opening up in Region 7, 1A. Humboldt, the Vikings, 2-1, big win last week. They're going to Greenfield. I think they're the Jackets, right? The Yellow Jackets something.
Yeah.
They're 2-1 as well. Who do you like in this one?
So I looked at that last night. Both teams could win this game, I believe. Brandon picked a pretty good list this week. I think Humboldt's really have a surprising season. They struggled last year. I think they won 1 game last year.
They didn't win any last year.
Okay. Well, they've already won 2, so they're way ahead last year. I'm going with Humboldt. I've got a lot of customers in Humboldt. I used to be a member at Humboldt Country Club, so we're going with the local Humboldt team. I like Greenfield. The Wimpy Burger's good if it's still open. I don't know if it is or not, but definitely check it out. But Humboldt's going to win this one on the road, I believe.
Boy, Tony, I like what you're working with there. I like the fact that you went to my line. You said customers. Humboldt Country Club's a very nice course, especially the first 9 holes, because I tear that up. I light it up like it's on fire, and I'm not a good golfer. I'm going with Greenfield here. I'm going with the Yellow Jackets. You did something to me when you mentioned Wimpy's. Before they remodeled, my picture hung on the wall as completing the Wimpy Burger Challenge in a Polaroid.
Really?
And for that reason, I'm going with the Yellow Jackets. Plus, we got to get some differentiation. I got to catch back up.
There's
Are you calling a tie here? You get 2 points for a tie.
Yes, I'll go.
No. This is not soccer.
Give me Give me Humboldt just because they are giving up a lot of points, but they're scoring a lot of points. And Greenfield is not scoring many at all. When they're getting beat, they're getting pounded. I mean, Halls gave it to them on the chin pretty good last week. So I'd like to think that Greenfield would bounce back this week, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So there may be some kind of issue there with their roster or something that I don't know about. Yeah, give me the Vikings.
All right, we move on. Staying in Region 7, 1A, Lake County, 2-1, going to South Fulton, who is 3-0. Now, I missed a game earlier this year with Lake County. I can't remember who they played, but I had them losing that game, and I was wrong. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice here. I understand South Fulton had lost a game. Lake County's better than I thought.
Is it my turn?
No, it's my turn.
Oh, you're picking.
No,
okay.
yeah, it's my turn. I'm thinking. I'm almost talked myself into Lake County here. I think I'm going to flip the last minute. You know, I got burned betting against Lake County once. Will I get burned twice? South Fulton, Lake County. Give me South Fulton here. They stay perfect on the season. Now you're up, Brandon.
All right. It's not a bad pick. I got to go with Lake County just because they have played a tougher schedule so far. Now, I say they played a tougher schedule. Their opponent's record is not as good as South Fulton's with their 3-0 record. But Lake County has played Dyersburg. They played Obion County, and I think they played Dresden last week. Whereas South Fulton is taking out, I mean, I was kind of impressed by that Tipton Rosemark win last week. I'm not sure why. Maybe they won by a lot. Did they do that?
I thought that one was 49-46.
Yeah, 49-46. So they scored a lot. So, I mean, South Fulton is scoring a lot. I mean, they've scored 136. They're averaging 45 points a game. Whereas Lake County is only averaging 22. But Lake County is also playing tougher teams. This is a shaky one, but I'm taking the Falcons.
Going Lake County, okay. Disagreement everywhere, Tony. You're the tiebreaker. What do you think here?
Well, these first two that Brandon sent us were really tough. I mean, it was kind of like you could pick this one because of that, or pick the other one, just like Brandon went over with everything. Lake County did burn me, I think, on week 1. I think I've picked it along with you. But last week, Lake County won for me. So I'm rolling with Lake County again. First 2 games are road victories. So the Hall picks Lake County.
Staying with them while they're hot. All right, we move on
the
here.
Corn Nuggets.
The Corn Nuggets. Going on here. Gleason, 3-0. Going to Union City, the Tornadoes, the Golden Tornadoes, or whatever it is they call it, the Tornadoes.
Golden Tornadoes, yeah.
That's what I thought. Coming into this, 1-2. Brandon, you're up first here. I think I know where you're going, but I'm curious to hear what you're going to say.
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of wondering why I put this game on the list because I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd like to make this pick in a way that's not based on laundry and logos and brands. But Union City has a history having good football. Gleason has had some good teams, but there are not many towns that have a history of good football like Union City does.
That's true.
And, I mean, Union City, the 2 losses are
USJ and Dyer County.
Yeah, Dyer County. I couldn't remember the other one.
And those 2 teams are on fire this year.
And Dyer County is about 3 classes bigger than Union City. So there's something to be said for that, too. But, yeah, both are undefeated. So, and in these losses, they're 1-2. They're averaging 26 points a game. They are giving up 41, whereas Gleason is averaging 33 and giving up 17. But their opposition is a combined 2-7, whereas Union City's is a combined 8-1. So I think Union City has been building to test itself and get itself ready for region play, and we'll see the fruits of that labor this week with a big win by the Golden Tornadoes.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest pick on the board. This is the Golden Tornadoes. I was. That's why I wanted. I thought maybe there's something about Gleason that Brandon knows that we don't. That's why I'm glad he got the pick here. But yeah, I'm going Union City in a bunch, a whole lot.
Actually, I was up next, Chuck, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
skipped me. That's okay. I was going Union City anyway. I
figured
researched this, so Union City all day. They're going to win at home. This is one of those. We're finally playing a team that we should be able to beat.
Tony, you have a fun one here. You have the next one, Hoff. Milan 3-0, playing host to the Lions of Camden, coming in at 2-1. I told y'all JCM was going to get them.
I know the Cougars prevailed. That was one of Brandon's losses.
Hold up, y'all. Hold up. I may have that game wrong. What? Because I'm 90% sure Milan's playing JCM this week.
Oh, that's going to change.
Okay. Wow. Let me check it.
Yeah.
I'll fill in while you're checking. I did go to Milan this past week, and those stadium seats are nice.
Oh no! They got Camden at home this week. Okay, my bad.
Okay,
my bad.
All right, so we are.
I think they're playing them in soon. That's next week or something. So I looked at this yesterday. I looked at all these yesterday. Milan's just the better team here. Camden's a solid team, but Milan's going to have a special year. I don't know if they're going to go undefeated. I think they'll get beat a couple times this year. But I think this team is going to prevail over Camden. I just don't think they're, JCM beat them. Milan should beat JCM later, although I'm a Cougar at heart. I like Milan here.
Yeah, this is a pretty simple one here for Milan. Milan's legitimate. Very good team. Coach Comer doing a great job early out of the gate, 3-0. They get to 4-0. I'm going Bulldogs.
Yeah, Camden got a little bit exposed last week. I mean, they'd been scoring a lot of points like they did last year, but unlike last year, they were playing some defense. But the defense they were playing was against teams that are not as good as JCM or just JCM just made some good adjustments. They're down 12-8 at halftime, and then they outscore them 18-0 in the second half. So and the defensive coordinator at JCM is his name is escaping me, but he's an older coach. He's been around. He coached at Lambeth for a few years. And so he probably knows a few tricks that a lot of other coaches don't know. Camden being a team that averages 37 points a game, and they held them scoreless for two full quarters. That says a lot about JCM. And I'm talking more about JCM than I am Camden or Milan. My apologies, guys. But yeah, Camden got exposed, and Milan will expose them even further, and probably be shocked that this one has a running clock before it's over.
Wow. I can see that too. The next one here, I'm glad I get to go first because I'm very sure about this game. Ville coming in at 2-1, going to an 0-3 Peabody with one of the top three coaches, I think, in all of West. In Shane Jacobs, 0-3. If you could, I don't believe in good losses, right? Everybody wants to win. But last week, that losing to Riverside 22-18 with a team like Riverside, that's a pretty good loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the trajectory that Peabody's on. They did not look good in that USJ game at all. They looked a little bit better against Jackson Christian, a little bit, 2-score games, doing 14 points, but more competitive. And then what they did with Riverside, they're in Riverside, a 22-18 game. I'm liking the arrow that they're moving in. I think Peabody wins this one, and it's in Trenton. Yeah, give it Peabody this one.
Brandon, you're next.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's Peabody's kind of like Union City. They have played much tougher competition than Adamsville has, and they just had the unfortunate luck of drawing the defending state champion first in the region schedule. So they're already kind of, I don't think they're necessarily behind the 8 ball yet when it comes to trying to make the playoffs, but obviously being 0-1 in region play doesn't help. But yeah, I mean, I was hearing in the preseason that Adamsville should be good this year. It's not that they're bad, it's that they haven't really overwhelmed me with stuff that I'm looking at here as far as how many points they've scored, what they're allowing, and their quality of opponents.
Yeah. 2 wins are against Fayette Academy and McNary Central. They beat Fayette Academy 40-21 and then shut out McNary 35-0. But Huntington came in and did whatever they wanted to them, 43-12.
Yeah, so I think that's another exposure game. Adamsville got exposed last week against Huntington, and Adamsville gets put behind the 8 ball officially in trying to make the playoffs when they start off 0-2 in region play.
I agree, guys. This isn't a hard one. I think Peabody's going to get their first victory. I mean, you kind of said what I was going to say. The schedule, it's like Murderers Row, and they finally got a team that they should win. So Peabody for the Hoff.
All right, Tony, you're up next now. Is that right, or is it Brandon?
Brandon's next.
Next, we move to Region 7, 3A. Bolivar coming in undefeated, going to Dyersburg, 1-2. Of course, we remember that game. Boy, I missed it big time to start the season with Dyer County and Dyersburg. Dyer County just put it all up here. Brandon, who do you like here?
I'm gonna go with Dyersburg. They lost last week, 30-15 to Covington. But considering what Covington did to their first 2 opponents, that shows that Dyersburg has pretty much proved to be what I said they were probably going to be the first couple of weeks this year. They are not where they were last year, which was possibly the best team in all of West Tennessee last year. They pulled back a little bit, but they're still among the best teams. And I think that's going to be proven. And I think Bolivar gets exposed this week that Bolivar is not quite as good as Tiger fans are hoping. I mean, they're 2-0, great, but those 2 opponents are combined 0-6. So,
yeah, and that tells the whole story right there, doesn't it?
It does.
What
was this? Go ahead, Chuck. Sorry.
Yeah, I want it to be Bolivar a lot. Yeah, I think you're up, Tony. I'm getting out of order here, aren't I?
Yeah, that's okay. What was the score of the Bolivar Ripley game? I know I got it right, but it was tight, wasn't it?
Give me a second.
It was a close game. I'm like actually
22-19 or something.
38-21.
Okay, well, it wasn't that tight. Okay, all right. For some reason, I thought it was tighter. Well, that doesn't really help Bolivar's case on my point. I researched and I agree. Dyersburg is a deeper team. They're playing at home. They're going to be pretty mad starting out 1-2. I think they're prouder than that. I know those Dyersburg people are really all about their sports, and they're into their they care about sports, so they don't want to go 1-3. So they're going to bring it, and I would imagine they win this game by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Like opponent, I like Bolivar. They're a fun team to root for, cool colors. But yeah, Dyersburg. I mean, you're playing in a college stadium atmosphere. They by far, not by far, but they have the coolest stadium set up in all of West Tennessee, in my opinion. So I'm going with the Trojans. All right, as we move on, McNary coming in at 1-2, going to Ripley, who is in 3. 0-3, Tony. What are your thoughts? Or is it me?
It's you this time, yeah.
How am I so off on this tonight? Good Lord. I need pen and paper.
No, it's me. I'm sorry, you're right. It is me. My dot's small. I'm putting dots where we pick. Yeah, so McNary at Ripley. Man, this is a game where somebody's got to win, right? I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of them.
All the time.
I mean, McNary is not impressed this year on the scoreboard. I haven't been there any of their games, but it doesn't look good there. I'm not. It seems like they've had better football programs or teams in the past, but this year's not one of them. And then Ripley, like I said in the last score, that I think they probably hung with Bolivar, and Bolivar pulled away in that game. I don't know the scoring or what it was. I feel like they probably did that. So I think Ripley's going to pull it out. I mean, they got the home field advantage with the track in the end zone. Let's go with Ripley. So,
yeah, I mean, McNary's win came against Humboldt week 1 on the season. It was 23-14 game with Crockett County. I'm going to go. I mean, it's Ripley. They're better than McNary. It's Ripley.
I agree. I mean, I'm hoping that McNary will start to build something there. I like their new coach, Justin Truitt, a former South Gibson assistant coach who went to Trenton for a couple of years and then got the nod to take over down in Selmer. And I think he's starting to build something there, but he's having to work from pretty far back to try to catch up to everybody else. And Ripley is pretty far ahead of him at this point, and I think that'll show on Friday night.
Next game. Yep. All right. I'm up here. This is Division II Single A Fayette Academy going into TCA. Fun game last week with TCA and USJ. Fun game as they always are. USJ, we're really pulled away late there. Trinity Christian 1-2, Fayette Academy 1-1. Didn't they have the weather game or whatever, Brandon, in like West Carroll or something? There was a reason why they haven't had a bye week yet. What I'm saying, have they?
Talking about
Fayette Academy.
Fayette Academy.
They're 1-1. Yeah.
It wasn't West Carroll, but yeah,
it's Bolivar.
Yeah, Bolivar.
Yeah, it was the Bolivar game that didn't happen. I like Trinity here. I think Trinity's got some players. Was it Lakai Tompkins? He's a stud. They got Hank Miller. They've got some players here. I feel comfortable with Trinity. That's not a terrible loss last week to USJ.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone who follows TCA expected that game last week to be closer than what it was. But, I mean, sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw. And last week the buzzsaw was painted red and Carolina blue. But this is going to be a game where TCA is going to look to come back and kind of wipe the egg off their face and put some points on the board. Y'all may or may not remember this was a game last year. They won it like 64-41 or something like that. And Braden Waller put his name in PWSAA record books when he had 341 receiving yards, which is good enough for number 3 on the all-time list, third most receiving yards in one game. Only 17 yards short of the record.
Wow.
So I don't know if he's going to do that again. I'm thinking maybe Fayette will probably zero in on Braden, and maybe Caleb Williams has a breakout game and has a few catches and a few touchdowns and shows that TCA has multiple weapons going into region play. But I'm taking TCA to win, possibly win big.
So, Brandon, sorry I missed you at the USJ game. I was tired, and that game was over at halftime, so I left. But before I left...
A lot of people did.
Yeah, before I left, I started out on the USJ side, chatted with some people, because I got voters in both schools. So I was making the rounds and got to the TCA side and talking to a couple parents, and apparently about 7 or 8 guys quit in the last couple of weeks because they were saying that a lot of the boys thought that they were working them year round and they just didn't have a lot of time to do other things or something. So TCA was shorthanded from what they started the year, is my understanding. They've still got some players. They've still got what the guys you're talking about, but they don't have as many as they used to, is what I was told. They did come back and fight hard at the end of the game. I think the second half score was 7-7, but USJ really stomped them in the first half. But I do think they're going to come back in this week against Fayette Academy, being a home game. They were out practicing in pads this morning. I saw them, or this afternoon. So, yeah, coach have them ready. So, TCA on this one for sure.
All right, so everybody going with TCA here. No real surprise there. Okay, so now we move to non-region games. Brandon's up first. I'm thankful for this one, too. Memphis East, who I know very little about. Although, isn't that the school Penny coach when he cheated and won all the state championships?
Right.
Okay, they're going to Hardin County, 1-2. Hardin County let me down, but I was happy to be let down last week. I was very glad South Gibson got that win. I picked Hardin
20-3.
So what?
It was 20-3. It was
pretty. Yeah, they really let me down. They're 1-2.
Defensive.
Hardin County has really been such a good team for such a long time, and they're a good big school, right? It's a county school,
right?
What do you like here, Brandon?
I tell you what, I saw the first half that they played in South Gibson last week. They didn't play bad in the first quarter, but then during the break between the first and second quarters, when the rain came and the floods came, the rain came down and the floods came up, and we saw Noah ride by his boat. And I mean, that was one of the top 3 biggest rain games I've been a part of. And I had no inclination that it was going to rain because I don't watch weather reports because they're never right. So I'm
and
out
it didn't
there
rain in Jackson, which was so weird. It didn't rain at my house, at least. Let me say, I was on my phone.
It didn't rain at the USJ game. It like split the field. It was like dark on both sides.
Well, it caused the USJ game to start about 15 minutes late, but
yeah,
Jackson Christian had a delay. Liberty got called. Northside got delayed, but it fell a flood South Gibson. But before the flood, Hardin County was playing good. They were up 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. But then they couldn't do anything. I don't know if they were relying too much on the pass game or if they just hadn't practiced with wet balls yet. But it was they just couldn't do anything, and South Gibson just kind of took over. When I left at halftime to head over to USJ, it was 7-3, and then obviously South Gibson had a really good second half too.
Hello? So who you picking?
Well, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so Memphis East has a record of 2-1. I'm not sure who they played.
Lost to Melrose 20-7. They picked up a win 21-18 over Arlington and a win 25-13 over Sheffield.
None of those really just stick out to me. So, I mean, this is probably still a solid Memphis East team. I mean, East is usually a solid football program. So I'm going to take East in this one. And I don't know. I've had some people question Hardin County's toughness this year. So we may start to see that kind of get tested. And as they try to focus in on that, the coaching staff here in the next couple of weeks as they start to get deeper into region play.
Well, going with the Memphis team. You know, I was disappointed in Hardin County. That was the game I lost, the only one last week. I'm going to go with Hardin County. I've looked into this, and I really feel like that I can see why you'd say that based on the fourth quarter I watched on TV after I left the USJ game. I mean,
right.
But then again, I think the rain had a lot to do with that. I mean, I think that Hardin County's going to rebound at home.
Of a hurricane coming through Friday night, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Memphis East. I actually watched a little bit of the video. I mean, they've got some athletes. I just feel like Hardin County is going to run the football and just try to play game clock and get back to what they're good at, and that's what historically they've been good at is just pounding the rock. So I think they keep it simple and win time possession and win this at home.
So you're going Hardin County, Tony?
Yep.
Good. You can consider us tied now for next week. I will take Memphis East in this. I won't make the same mistake on Hardin County again this year. I'm very happy South Gibson won. I should have went with my heart anyway. Give me Memphis East here.
All right.
All right.
So I got the next one.
All right.
It's Brentwood at Henry County. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So this is a mammoth game for both programs. 2-1 for both programs. Henry County, I caught the end of that game. I was texting you guys.
Yes.
Their kicker kicked a 41-yard field goal to win it with like 5 seconds to go or 10 seconds to go in the game. I thought they were going to lose because it just looked like they were fluttering and they couldn't move the ball. And then they're like, well, we'll kick a field goal, yes. And he nailed it. So that dude can – kudos to whoever their kicker is. But they're not going to win this one against Brentwood. Brentwood's going to come in to Henry County and pull, maybe not an upset, but going to upset the Patriots and the fans for sure. Going with Brentwood.
Yeah, Brentwood had 24-14 victory over Blackman. Lost to Brentwood Academy 16-6, but I mean, no harm there. And it was dominant over Hendersonville 56-14. And I want to go with Henry County here. Wins over Brighton. The win you're talking about last week, Tony, with that field goal, 1-point win against Springfield. They did lose to Riverdale. The game is in Paris. Hard place to play. I think they have like a cannon or something there, which is very intimidating. Ooh, Henry County. Give me the Patriots.
I'm taking Brentwood Academy. Brentwood. I'd like to take Henry County too, and usually I do take Henry County. But looking at Brentwood's schedule, and Blackman's not a bad team. They beat them by 10. Hendersonville is not a bad team. They beat them by 42. Brentwood Academy is what Brentwood Academy is, and they competed well with them in that loss. That suggests to me that this is a really good team coming to Paris Friday night, and Henry County needs to play the best game it's played so far this year to come out with a win.
All right, Chuck, you're next.
Next matchup here, Columbia Academy. Going into Huntington 1-1, Columbia Academy 2-1 on the season. I don't know much about Columbia Academy. I do know that Huntington cost me a game the first week when I took them over McKenzie, I believe it was. McKenzie came out and put it on them. I'm gonna give Huntington another shot, mostly because I did not look these games up before, and I don't know much about Columbia Academy. Although their record is better, but it's just one game better. I mean, really, in high school football, if you were to pick Huntington every single week, you would have more right picks than wrong weeks. Historically, right. Give me Huntington.
Well, and the only reason Columbia Academy's record is one game better is because they played one more game. Huntington, for whatever reason, had its bye week in week 2, which really I think is the worst week of the entire season to have your bye week.
How do they even allow that?
Well, I mean, the TSSAA in 2022 started making everybody's region schedule, and then they just told everybody, okay, you've got this many weeks to schedule this many games, which is X minus 1. You got a bye week in there. So, and it's okay. All right, let's say, Tony, you're coaching JCM. Let's say I'm coaching Peabody and Chuck is coaching Crockett. Hey, Crockett, can you play in week 2? No? All right. JCM, can you play in week 2? Yes. Okay. So we got Peabody versus JCM.
Somebody just got to have week 2, and they rotated, I guess.
Right. And I mean, it's possible he could have come up with a week 2 opponent, but then you have to drop another non-region game, and we don't know where that week 2 opponent would have been. It could have been Murfreesboro or Knoxville or whatever, and that's just too far to go.
Kind of like how Peabody had Riverside, open up the season, a couple years ago, and then they played them again this year. Not Peabody, Carville and Riverside, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only reason Riverside played Collierville in week 1 is because they literally could not find anybody else to play.
So is Columbia Academy like the private school in Columbia, I assume?
Yes, Columbia, because they're not going to put Columbia Academy in Red Bank.
Yeah, I mean, that's an obvious choice, but, sometimes that's not the case, though. There's I was listening to something the other day, and you're like, oh, that's definitely in this state. Well, no, it's not. I forgot what it was. But
I assure you, any private high school in the state of Tennessee that has a town's name in it, that private school is in that town.
Yeah, I would be willing to gamble that for sure. Well, I've never heard of them, but that's just me. So, it's your pick, Brandon. Huntington or Columbia Academy?
Oh, okay. Well, you never heard of them. I mean, Jackson Christian has played them the last 4 or 5 years, either regular season or playoffs, if not both.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and some years they're one of the better teams in Division 2A. They might have won state not long ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they have, as a program, taken a step back the last few years. I think they're playing a little better. They may be the team that eliminated Jackson Christian last year in the second round.
Really?
Either that or JCS beat them week 1, and I forget which is which. But I know they did play in the playoffs last year. But I'm after saying all that, I'm going to take Huntington. Huntington's got.
We're leading up to like, well, I think I'll take them.
Yeah. No, but Huntington's got the Eubanks kid. They got the 17th Warburton child coming through.
It's amazing how many Warbrettons live in Huntington.
And
wow, it's like the Wallace kids at South Gibson.
It's actually only 3, but Brady is like 10 years younger than his older brothers. I covered Tyler and Jay coming through from like 11 through 13 or 14. And then I remember saying something to Coach Swentz about, oh, your last Warburton brother, I guess you're going to miss that. No, we got one more. I just got to last about a decade until he comes up. And sure enough, he and the baseball coach's kid, Gray Eubanks, have become 2 really good athletes, 2 really good weapons for the Mustangs on offense that, with the exception of McKenzie did a good job stopping them, but they didn't stop them often. They just stopped them enough. And I don't think Columbia Academy is going to bring enough firepower defensively to stop them anywhere near enough to get a win here.
I agree. Huntington, let's not even talk anymore. We've talked enough about this.
You're going Mustangs. So this is leading up to the big game of the week, in my opinion. But Brandon, I did notice that you left off Westview and Liberty this week. I heard reports today. One of the guys I work with was going to go to the Scotts Hill Westview game last week, and it was actually called at halftime.
Mm-hmm. It was,
and it was barely raining. 70 points in the
half.
Westview, but it was. I'm assuming at this point they consider it a failure, is they did finally give up a touchdown, but 70-7 at half.
How do you score that many points in one half? That's insane.
Hold on. Hey, y'all, we're not just talking about a half. When I left South Gibson, headed for USJ, and I turn on the radio and I'm hearing scores, and I hear that score, Westview had already scored 70. And there were still 8 minutes left in the second quarter. So they had scored 10 touchdowns in 16 minutes.
What?
I just don't know. And this was
That's
Liberty.
An average of every 96 seconds they're crossing the goal line.
That's like explosive play after explosive play. Like they don't have anything but explosive plays.
And Graham Simpson, he only went 6 for 6 for 2 touchdowns.
So the defense scored 4 times too.
No, yeah, I'm sure there's some picks. Yeah, there had to.
Man, yeah, this game with Liberty could be tough for the Crusaders.
You should be like, if you go to the Liberty game, you should be like, can I pay $3.50 or $4 because it's only going to be a half here.
All right, this is the game that a lot of people from the area are ready to hear. Brandon, you have the first pick. I wish you would defer it to Tony because I'm waiting to hear Tony schmooze his way around this as he has constituents in both.
Hey, I know what I'm picking. No matter what Brandon says, I'm sticking with it.
To get help. I wasn't going to bring that up, but you went to social media to get help for the pick today.
I just wanted to see what people think. That was not for help. That was just to spark conversation.
Mm-hmm. That was cheating.
But Brandon, go ahead.
No, Tony, you go ahead and pick while I look up your Facebook.
I didn't pick it. All I did was I said, who you got in this game? Just curious. So
Tony was cheating, trying to get an advantage on get some help.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Hey, here's my picks right here. I got it written down if you want to read it real quick here. So
it's fine, Tony. We're
kidding. Go ahead, Brandon.
You wrote it down after you received the information from the public. Brandon,
no, I did this yesterday. This was from yesterday, I promise.
Jackson Christian going to USJ. Big game, one of the biggest games of the year, obviously, for both schools. What do you think here? Both teams looking good, rolling good currently. Who comes out of this with a win?
So before I get to that, just a couple of pieces of trivia here.
Okay.
This is only the third time in this series history that both teams come in undefeated.
Really?
And all 3 times have been in the last 5 years. The first one was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was last year.
Wow.
And then last year's game was the first time. Say that again?
I said I would have guessed more. Like if you would have said, as many times as they've played, how many times did they both, when they saw each other, how many times were they undefeated? I would have guessed more than that, more than 3.
No. I mean, USJ's come in more times, significantly more. And, I mean, I'm just looking on Coach T, looking through the records on Coach T over the last, and it goes back to 2000. So I guess it's possible that they played undefeated in the 80s or 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking no, since Jackson Christian was a fledgling program at the time, unless they played in week 1. So, but I'm just glad to see that this game matters again, because 10 years ago it didn't matter. With all due respect to people who played for Jackson Christian 10, 12 years ago, that program was floundering. If they won 4 games in the regular season, that was a good year. In fact, it seems like they even didn't play USJ for a couple of years. I think they said, no, we're going to take a break from y'all for a couple of years. And then they brought it back a couple of years later. That's how bad it got. But credit Darby Palmer and his coaching staff. They have built Jackson Christian into not just a winner, but one of the most consistent winners in rural West Tennessee. That's a big credit to them. And credit Derek Pritchard and his coaching staff at USJ, because if you had told me USJ was going to be 3-0 going into this game, I would have said I will take that bet that they won't be, because they shouldn't have beat Peabody. They shouldn't have beat Union City. And I would have probably in preseason, I would have taken TCA to beat them. But yeah, just because Derek Pritchard did a good job of making it sound like his team could do nothing. So, but having said all that, I mean, both teams have a ton of weapons on offense. Both teams have pretty decent defenses. Man, this is a tough pick. And also keep in mind, I'm officially picking this. I mean, whatever pick I'm making, this is going to be the pick that I make in my column, which I have not written yet. I'll just have to try to come up with a score. Last year, Jackson Christian was 41 points better than USJ. I am not sure that USJ, as well as they are playing, have made up that entire 41 points. So I'm going to take the Eagles to win on the road.
So Brandon took the Eagles.
That's not the greatest argument I can come up with, but I mean, you can make the argument either way in this one. And so yeah, I'm going to go with Jackson Christian.
It's a tough one, Brandon, and I made my selection yesterday on my paper, but I did ask social media because I was curious how everybody thought, and I think 3 or 4 comments were like, "It's going to be a great game." They didn't even say who would win. Of course, the people who commented who would win were homers for each program, so it was pretty obvious. So, man, I can tell you, I mean, I witnessed the USJ TCA first half, and one of the plays, I think it was like a play action. They threw a deep ball to Spencer, and he just grabbed it. And I mean, the determination on that boy's face and the speed he did on that streak play was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jackson Christian had beat them badly last year, and I think that's the motivation USJ needs to win the close game at home. Mm-hmm. USJ comes back and wins this game 24-21 on a field goal and late in the game.
24-21 USJ. All right, so I like what both of you said. Brandon, you bring up a very interesting point. Is USJ 41 points better than what they were last year? Here's what I would say to that. Another year with Coach Pritchard.
Mm-hmm.
Now there was an injury, a practice injury at USJ against the starting. He was a lineman,
right,
on offensive and defensive side. A good kid, big kid's name's Carson. Really liked him, and he was benching, 250 as an incoming freshman. Right. Stout kid. That's a big loss. That's a tough loss. I think this is the biggest game for both programs now that they don't play like in the playoffs and stuff. This is the biggest non-region game for both programs right now. Man, this is hard. The 41-point thing is hanging with me. I will say this: Noah Spencer is unbelievable, but so is Mosley. It's not like Jackson Christian is void of quality athletes either.
They got Mr. Football at receiver, and then they had a running back who scored 4 touchdowns last week.
Right. So yeah, they're not void of talent. I've watched pretty much every snap that unless the games have gotten out of hand. Like last week in the fourth, I swapped to some other games. I've seen a lot of snaps for USJ this year. Give me the Bruins. I'm gonna roll with the Hoff here. Give me the Bruins. Although I'm having a hard time finding that 41-point differential from a year before. But give me the Bruins. That's what I was thinking going into this. No need to change now.
Well, the factor you're going to be the 41 points. I think once a team gets down 30-0, sometimes teams just give up. You know what I mean? They're like, it's over. I don't know what happened to my Kentucky Wildcats, but I think they gave up. But
Notre Dame did too.
The thing about this game, guys, is I think they're going to be so mad. They're going to talk so much about last year. They're going to come out with like extra fuel, and that's going to be the difference. Because I think the matchup this year is pretty even. USJ's grown a lot from the past year. I mean, from what I've seen, on video and personally last week, I was just impressed that they really pounded TCA, and I didn't see that coming at all. I thought that would be a lot closer, and that they proved me wrong on that. So.
All right. Do we have a tiebreaker game this week for the SEC, Tony?
I did not pick one. Let me look real quick here.
Okay. Tennessee's playing Kent State.
Kentucky's playing Georgia, so we know what's going to happen there. Look it up. See what we got. I didn't even do this.
Alabama's at Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, after this, something about South Florida and Alabama. South Florida just plays them tough.
I know it was like 16-17, and then Alabama just took off with it, and I guess late in the game. So,
yeah,
I did not do that.
We'll catch. They're more fun once they start playing, in conference games.
We're not really getting close matchups now. Early season. I don't think there are any really close ones.
Well, next week we'll have the Tennessee-Oklahoma game.
I was going to say, yeah, we got that one next week.
That's going to be a big one, Hall. Josh Heupel going back to Norman. That'll be a big one there. So we'll talk about it then. All right, so we've got picks in. A lot of different picks from the three of us early on. Brandon going with Jackson Christian there at the end. We had some chalk there in the middle with these 12 games. Brandon going with Jackson Christian. Tony and I going with the Bruins at the end. But yeah, it's been flipping up. We will look to do this next week for week 5 of the Jackson Post West Tennessee High School Football Pick'em. Everybody have a great day.